There are many things Game of Thrones did wrong, but if there's one thing they got just right, it's casting this dude as the Night King. Seriously, he's creepy as hell. In a world full of demons, dragons, and scheming humans, the Night King has always stood out as one of the biggest bads of them all. But who he really is has been a hotly debated topic amongst fans since the very first episode. We know from the show that the Children of the Forest created the Night King as a weapon against the invading humans over 8,000 years ago. And while this may seem pretty definitive, a lot of fans have rejected this as being a bit too simple of an explanation. Instead, there are a lot of other compelling possibilities that make for some pretty disturbing conclusions. So what if I told you the truth was even scarier? Before we dive into our own take on this mystery, let's do a quick recap of the Night King's visual evolution. He was initially portrayed by stuntman Richard Blakewell in Season 1, though his face was hidden behind a mask until Season 2, when the showrunners felt that a CGI White Walker would better serve the story. This version was mostly inactive, only appearing in glimpses beyond the wall. It wasn't until Season 4 that we saw him become a proper character, complete with his iconic dragonglass dagger. And finally, in Season 6, we see his face for the first time when he grabs hold of a fleeing Bran and Mira. Then, of course, there's the infamous resurrection scene in Season 7, where he comes back after being stabbed with a Valyrian steel sword and absorbs the body of a fallen White Walker. Finally, in the series finale, he makes one last appearance, riding a resurrected dragon Vhagar towards King's Landing. The ambiguity of his character has led to some wild speculation. Like, did you know that some fans actually believe he's just a figment of Bran's imagination? Not so far-fetched when you consider his visions. But the idea that he's literally made up does undue justice to the impact he has on the story, especially the deaths of fan-favorite characters like Catelyn and Shireen. In this video, we're going to unpack some of the more popular theories about the Night King's identity and explain why none of them quite fit. Then we are going to reveal our own evidence-based conclusion, which just might be the most unnerving one yet. Let's start with the most mainstream theory, the one that posits Bran Stark as the Night King. Now hear me out, because there's some merit to this idea. Bran and the Night King both exhibit powerful abilities over time and space. They can send each other visions and communicate across great distances, as seen when Bran calls out to the Night King, and the Night King responds by attacking him directly. Plus, Bran's green-seeing powers grew immensely once he absorbed the knowledge of the previous three-eyed raven. So it's easy to see why some fans think that the Night King could be another aspect of Bran's power. However, we disagree. There are a few glaring issues with this idea. First, if the Night King is a part of Bran, why didn't he appear before the events of Season 6? Remember that Bran began green-seeing long before he ever went beyond the wall. It seems unlikely that something as significant as an extra-dimensional aspect of his powers would suddenly emerge without any warning signs. Second, if the Night King is a part of Bran, then by extension, Bran is a part of the Night King. But we never see the Night King display any empathy or sympathy for humanity, not even for Jon Snow, who he literally resurrected. If anything, he seems almost disappointed by Jon's choice to spare his people. So if the Night King is a part of Bran, why does Bran still feel such a strong sense of compassion and empathy for his fellow humans? And finally, the series finale explicitly shows that the Night King is destroyed along with the rest of the White Walkers, when Arya kills the 10th Night King with a Valyrian steel dagger. And we do get the sense that this is just another one of Bran's powers that he temporarily lost. No, this feels like a permanent defeat. So what about the three-eyed raven connection? After all, both the Night King and the three-eyed raven can send their consciousness through time and space and possess those around them. Well, while this theory has its merits, it also falls short for us. Yes, the similarities between these two characters are undeniable, but we see enough differences to suggest that these characters aren't the same, just two separate individuals with similar abilities. For example, the Night King seems much more animalistic than the three-eyed raven. He attacks anyone on sight, regardless of whether or not they pose a threat. And unlike the three-eyed raven, the Night King isn't particularly interested in protecting the natural world. He's willing to destroy everything, animals included, in his path. Another popular theory suggests that the Night King is the last descendant of the first men and that he is somehow related to the Starks. While this theory is rooted in some textual clues, ultimately it doesn't feel quite right. We're talking about a guy who attempts to kill Bran Stark, A. Stark. So unless he's just a huge family-hating weirdo, this theory doesn't seem to add up. So, if Bran isn't the Night King, if he's not connected to the three-eyed raven, and if he's not a Stark, then who is he? Well, here's the thing. We think the most compelling theories about the Night King are the ones that focused less on the Night King himself and more on the bigger picture. So here's our take. We believe that the Night King is an agent of a far older, more sinister force. That means he is not just a product of the children of the forest, magic, or a Stark-hating weirdo. Instead, he's a pawn in a much larger game. Think about it. Where did the White Walkers come from? How did they even exist? According to the show, they were made by the children of the forest. But what made the children of the forest create such a brutal weapon in the first place? We know that they were desperate times, but what was it about the humans that made the children of the forest want to wipe them off the face of the earth? Were they just tired of the endless fighting and the general unpleasantness that the humans brought with them? Maybe. But maybe there was something more. Maybe there was something about humans that the children of the forest found inherently corrupt or dangerous. What if the children of the forest created the Night King because they knew humans were fundamentally broken and needed to be punished? You see, the Night King doesn't just attack everyone indiscriminately. He seems to have a particular vendetta against the Starks. Even before Bran became the Night King's obsession, he sent visions to Brendan Rivers, a Stark loyalist, and tried to use him to lure Ned Stark to Winterfell, where he would have surely died along with everyone else. Then there's the fact that he spares Jon Snow and Ghost, even though Jon is a legit target due to his Targaryen heritage and his position as a leader in the fight against the White Walkers. Could it be that the Night King sees something in Jon that reminds him of the children of the forest, or perhaps even himself? Perhaps the Night King is driven by an ancient hatred for humanity that has nothing to do with the humans that are alive in his time, and everything to do with the humans of legend. The humans that committed unspeakable acts and unleashed horrors that should never have been unleashed. Think about it. Humans had dragons at one point. Their history is littered with wars and conquests. And there's even a prophecy about a great hero who will come from the line of Aegon the Conqueror to destroy the world in fire and blood. Could it be that the Night King sees himself as an instrument of balance, a way to restore the world to the state it was in before humans set foot on it? A time when the children of the forest and the creatures of the night roamed free, maybe. So who exactly is the Night King? We don't know for sure. But we do know that he's more than just a mindless monster. He's more than just a figment of Bran's imagination, or a lonely weirdo who hates his own family. No, the Night King is a pawn, a piece in a much larger game that has been played for thousands of years. What if he's the unwitting servant of an ancient, corrupted human sorcerer? A dark wizard who used his powers to bend the children of the forest to his will and create the ultimate weapon against his enemies. Or perhaps the Night King is the last descendant of this bloodline, a corrupted king who has inherited his ancestor's dark powers and whose mind has been twisted by centuries of violence and solitude. Whatever the case may be, we can be sure of one thing. The Night King is just the tip of the iceberg, and beneath the icy waters lurks something far more terrifying. Something that has been whispered about in hushed tones for millennia. Something that even the bravest warriors refuse to speak of. Something wicked this way comes. Now, it's your turn. What do you think? Let us know your most outlandish and well-reasoned Night King theories in the comments below. And hey, if you liked this video, don't forget to hit subscribe, so you don't miss our upcoming videos on Game of Thrones and other nerd stuff. As always, thanks for watching, and happy theorizing.